What's up? Welcome back. Are you awake yet? Did you wake up in time for this review? Dead man. Okay, I'm John Stark from MacMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and I don't have jokes, but I do have a review of Wake Up Dead Man, which is the third Knives Out movie, and possibly the last one, considering Rian Johnson does not have another one actively in the works. He wanted to do something else first. Um, Between not having another one of these and not having another season of Poker Face ready, what is the other thing, sir? They're not giving you Star Wars back. Anyway, um, so this does have audio description on Netflix. I think it's International Digital Center, and based on that voice, I'm gonna guess written and narrated by Liz Gutman. I think that's Liz. I did not get it because it kept trying to. I watched this through my like Roku, and it kept trying to get me out of it and into like other things. And like so I was fragmented, and it was talking on top of it was, next up on that, fuck you, stop. But you also can't run the Netflix app. I can't like toggle it on and off because it kicks you out of the app. I know that's a lot at the top of the review for sighted people, and I love you. Thank you. Click like and subscribe. But I think it's Liz. That's my guess. Um, so uh, this film stars Josh O'Connor, though. I know you're expecting me to say the film stars Daniel Craig. It does not. It stars Josh O'Connor, who plays Judd, who is a priest. And by the way, I'm going to try to avoid spoilers because I think discovering the ending to this film is the whole point. It's not a spoiler review, but also spoilers are relative. So I have to discuss the film to a certain point in order to get that. So I'm going to tell you who these characters are and why they're in the movie. But I will not tell you who done it. That's not going to happen in this review. So feel free to come along on the ride with me if you want, because I realize it's like a murder mystery, and you're probably like, "Oh God, was he gonna?" I will not spoil who done it in this review for you. But it is Josh O'Connor is the lead. He is in the whole movie. Daniel Craig is not. So we start off with Josh O'Connor, and he's narrating from the beginning, like he wrote in a letter. And I think Benoit Blanc is like reading it at the beginning of it. So we see him like really quickly just to remind us that it's a Benoit Blanc movie. And he tells us about his story, and he's like, it all starts with this asshole. And so he knocks out another priest, which gets him sent to this tiny, shitty little town where he meets everyone else. Jeffrey Wright sends in there. Jeffrey Wright's in the movie for like 5 seconds. So if you're a Jeffrey Wright fan, it's basically a cameo. So everyone else is actually in the movie, but Jeffrey Wright is basically a cameo. So Josh O'Connor goes to Judd. Sorry, Judd goes to this little town that's run by the Monsignor. There's a church there that's run by Monsignor, played by Josh Brolin. And he has one nun, played by Glenn Close. And there's a groundskeeper, Sam, played by Thomas Hayden Church. And they're kind of like all the people who work at this church. And so O'Connor is supposed to join and, sermon or whatever. And so the other people that you're going to see introduced, because it has sort of like a limited cast, it's not like a huge town full of people that come to this church. For some reason, it's like a handful of people, and then everyone else leaves them alone. So you have Kerry Washington, who plays an attorney. You have Jeremy Renner, who plays a doctor. You have Andrew Scott, who plays, I don't know, a politician, like a conspiracy theorist. I really don't know what his job is. Like his life choice job. I don't know. He's an author, but I think he's trying to write a book. I don't think he actually is one. I don't think he's a published author. Anyway, or is that Seb? I combined those two characters. I'm sorry. There's also Daryl McCormick's character. Um, and I think he's the one that's actually writing the book. Sigh. Yes. And uh, I combined those two characters into one. That's how memorable they were. And Kaylee Spaney plays a wealthy woman who is afflicted with something and is giving money to the church to be healed. That's her character in broad strokes. In the broadest strokes, without spoiling things, those are their characters defined. So Judd goes there and he immediately kind of clashes with Monsignor, who is kind of playing this game with him. It's very much like a cat plays with its, you know, it feels like that's what Monsignor is doing with Judd, except Judd picks up on it. And so instead of being easy bait for him, they kind of fight a lot, which isn't good for the people of the town. And but everybody's loyal to Monsignor, and one thing will lead to another, and there will be a death, and it triggers the entry of the detective, like locally, Mila Kunis, who then, through a friend, knows to call Benoit Blanc. So Benoit comes in and helps Mila Kunis investigate, but also to some extent helps Josh O'Connor, because he kind of pairs up with Josh O'Connor on this, which is why Josh O'Connor stays the lead of the film, is because he's in the whole thing. But who done it and how and why and all that kind of stuff, you're going to have to watch the movie to find out. So my first reaction to this was, I don't know if I love it, because I got it 50% right from the beginning. It's a whodunit, and so at least for me, even in TV shows that have it, I mean, we now have shows like Elizabeth and Poker Face that kind of show you who done it right from the beginning. So it's all about how, and will our person figure out the crime. But here it is about who done it. So I made a guess at the beginning, and I ended up being half right. And I don't know if me being able to pick up on that really early was necessarily a great thing for him, but I also only got it half right. So then I had to analyze my thoughts on the film beyond that, because it is true that I got it half right. Like I made it halfway to the conclusion. So performance wise, I liked Josh O'Connor. I think this is another great performance from him this year. We should just give Josh O'Connor an award for this year, like a 2025 Josh O'Connor award for most consistent actor of the year, despite not being in a single film that will gain him an Oscar nomination. Not one performance. This man is in. He has this. He has Rebuilding. He has The Mastermind, and he has History of Sound. I reviewed all of them. He's great in all of them. He's not going to get a single Oscar nomination from any of them. And they're all like floating for your consideration campaigns. They're all like floating right around. Movie has two of them. Bleecker Street has Rebuilding. Netflix is, I think, giving up on Wake Up Dead Man. I didn't even get a screener for this, and I was supposed to. Like, you sign up for and fill out the information and submit it, and Netflix asks you to fill out a form for a digital screener. Anyway, so I did that, and it never came. I think after not getting any Critics' Choice nominations and Golden Globe, that they just gave up. I think they're just pulling their for-your consideration campaign for this movie, which is kind of disappointing, because there's some really great elements here. I love Glenn Close. She's fucking insane. um, God, she fully commits to everything. If you watch, what was that shitty movie with, was it like The Deliverance that she was in? God, the movie was terrible. With the Lee Daniels directed, that had like Monique and some other people in it. But she had to be in that. Hillbilly Elegy, she's like fully committed. She's fully committed to anything. Like you throw her in anything, and she is 199%. I should have said 200. Uh, Backed myself into that corner. 199.9999% in. So, uh, yeah, I mean, she's just like running laps around everybody here. It's kind of sad because some people are just kind of stuck in these roles and there's only just so much they can do. But my God, like Glenn Close, when she has like a religious moment or whatever, and she like throws herself to the ground and starts, it's just like nobody but Glenn, right? Like it's you watch this film and you're like, how have we not given her an Oscar? How is this actually fucking possible that in 2025 this lady is not an Academy Award winner? Like I watched the whole movie and I was like, I would nominate her. I would nominate her for this. Absolutely. I might do it too for anything I vote for because sentimental value is inaccessible to me because it doesn't have audio description. So I have spots open, technically, of the expected nominees. So I wouldn't be able to vote for sentimental value. So who am I going to fill those spots with? Well, Glenn Close is making an excellent case for herself here. Um, I loved her role. I loved her in this. I thought she was great. She's excellent. Her role, she's in, I would say, she's probably got about the same amount of time as Daniel Craig because we spend so long in the film with you know Josh O'Connor telling us this story, and at first we get introduced to the other people at the church, so it's like it feels like Josh Brolin and Glenn Close have even more screen time, and to some extent Thomas Hayden Church, but he also kind of plays like a reclusive handyman that you don't see that much. Um, but it feels like you see a lot of Brolin and Close more than the rest of the cast. So, yeah, it feels like even they have more screen time than Daniel Craig does. But Daniel, once he joins the film, he's there all the time. So he makes up for it. So I would say the three of them are kind of like about even, um, with Mila Kunis being right behind them. So, uh, yeah, she's almost like number two or number three here. And the payoff for her character is great. She has some lovely moments throughout the film. She's really committed to the religious aspect of things, and I think, as it's been pointed out to me, that it's not so much a murder mystery as it is like an examination of faith. And I think you get that a lot through Glenn Close's character, probably more so than anybody else. Actually, Kaylee Spaney's character would be really obvious, like a faith grab, because she's literally pouring her life savings into faith, hoping that it will heal her. Um, so she just doesn't have a lot of screen time. Like those other like towny characters, they just don't have a lot of screen time. They come in and out as needed. They each have like a thing. They each have beats, but they don't have nearly the screen time as everybody else. There's sort of like a division uh, because we spend more time at the church and less time with. And usually when we get those characters, they all kind of show up together. They're like, "We're the townies." Hello, we're like the new boy band. Um, so yeah, I don't really have any thoughts about Kerry Washington, Andrew Scott, Daryl McCormick, Jeremy Renner, or um, Kaylee Spaney because they all kind of have the same thing. Like they all have maybe a scene that worked, and I could understand why nobody's paying attention or nominating them. Now, Brolin, on the other hand, uh, it's a big performance, and I loved his character. I didn't quite buy him as a Monsignor, but his character is so weird that it doesn't matter whether or not you buy him as being, involved like a person like of the church. His character is so quirky and offbeat and requires like a Josh Brolin type performance to it. So I appreciated his work here as well. and I think Josh O'Connor does some really strong work. Daniel Craig does have some nice beats when he gets to sort of speak about things and give his opinion. He has one right off the bat where like basically his introduction to the movie is like him and Josh O'Connor and talking about faith and Craig is like, no, I'm a heretic, and lists all the reasons why he doesn't believe in things. And it's kind of a great speech, and he really gets worked up about it. Like he gets into these things about how the church, all of these bad things that come out of religion and the church and stuff like that. And it's a nice little monologue that Ryan Johnson wrote for Craig there. But yeah, so your four performances to pay attention to are Daniel Craig, Glenn Close, Josh O'Connor, and Josh Brolin. Those are the four. Mila Kunis is stuck in between because she's just playing like a straight detective. She has more screen time than the townies, but less screen time than the other people. So, and her character has to pretty much be a straight police officer. Mila Kunis could be anybody. Mila Kunis's character could have been replaced by anyone, and the role would have worked. It doesn't have enough flavor or spice to it to necessarily bite um, in a way that required it could be regendered, it could be different aged. There's so many different things that it could be. It works better if she is younger though and kind of inexperienced because you would call in somebody like that. But you could also have somebody who's just in over their head and was older and just was unused to having a crime in their community because it's supposed to be like a small town. So it could go either way. Like you can have anybody in this role. Um, it's the flavorless role that Ryan Johnson has written and Mila just kind of works into. So I don't really have any thoughts on her because I didn't really give her anything to do except stand there. Now Thomas Hayden Church exists sort of outside because he's great in the few scenes that he has, but his character is also somewhat reclusive, so we don't spend a lot of time with him. He's like a mysterious, like, how they try to keep those characters like, ooh, who's that guy? Like, I don't know. He keeps to himself a lot. um, so yeah, but he's got some nice beats. So I like the movie. I think I after I sat back to it and looked at it from a perspective of who are these characters and how are they examining their faith. It's like really obvious in Glenn Close. With Josh Brolin, there's a lot of similarities to Christ that he tries to draw. I know that sounds blasphemous, but fucking watch the movie and tell me he doesn't think he's Jesus. Uh, that he's not trying to draw similarities to himself being. Um, but and Josh O'Connor, who has an interesting backstory before he was a priest and how he came to religion, that comes up in this and sort of drives his need to be grounded and rooted in the concept of being saved and what that means and committing to faith and all that kind of thing. So these characters have such strong roots, and the other ones just kind of utilize it. I don't really know how faith plays out for Kerry Washington's character. Like, I didn't really pick up on that, or Jeremy Renner, or Andrew Scott's like a conspiracy theory person. So, I mean, he thinks everybody is whatever. There's a joke about him building a moat around his house. Um, and yeah, I don't quite see it in all of those characters, but you see it really strongly in some of them. And I think that's what keeps it going. Is it my favorite Knives Out movie? No, it's not. It's actually for some because some people are like, oh, this is the best one. And I get that. And I understand it. It's because of the choices that Ryan Johnson makes in terms of how he's telling the story. So this one leans more. It's sort of like watching Kenneth Branagh's. I was reminded a lot of his Poirot, progression of Poirot from Murder on the Orient Express to Death on the Nile to Haunting of Venice. It's sort of like when you get to Haunting of Venice and it's like, oh, well, this is kind of creepy. This is kind of spooky. This is kind of creepy. This is kind of spooky. This has a couple like sort of horror movie moments where you're going to be like, oh my God, that's in this movie. There are a couple of sort of like, I didn't know we would go there. type of reveals that are, uh, you know, I don't know if I would watch this with kids, like that kind of thing. Um, Josh Brolin also talks about masturbating. So if you want a parental warning, I would say it can be a little icky, a little bit on the horror side of things, and it also has him talking a lot about masturbating. Uh, he's a weird guy. You'll love the performance, but yeah, I liked Wake Up Dead Man. I just didn't love it. I just didn't. It's not going to be a top 25 movie for me. But the performances I think are worth campaigning. It's just nobody. They feel like just because they didn't get anybody in there for Glass Onion that they couldn't get there. I disagree. I think there's a Glenn Close performance here that they're just not pushing, that they're just not getting people behind. I think people would have loved this Glenn Close performance if they were pushing it, if they were saying, hey, we still haven't given an Oscar to Glenn Close. I don't think the supporting actress race is so strong that there's an obvious winner here. I think Glenn Close could have actually snuck into the race and won for Wake Up Dead Man. That's my hot take. There isn't a strong, obvious winner in supporting actress right now. There isn't someone who's going to sweep every single award. So, because of that, do I think it's possible that Glenn Close could have snuck in here and won for Wake Up Dead Man and people have finally been like, well, I don't feel strongly about any of these, but it's time to give Glenn her Oscar? Sure. So the abandoned campaign for Wake Up Dead Man is just disappointing. I loved the audio description. I thought the audio description was fantastic. It has so many beats, and there's so many like little the creepy moments, the moments where Johnson tries to go darker. They work really well. The more violent, the more horror leaning moments kind of go really well. And again, there are like the little details because it's a murder mystery, so you have to be paying attention to certain things. So that like sleight of hand and misdirection is always there. I appreciate that. So yeah, I like the audio description for this as well. That's it. That's what I got. I think that's the totality of it. The score didn't do anything for me. If I'm trying to talk about like another element of the movie, the score just didn't really do anything for me. The script, I don't know. I mean, if you look at it as a murder mystery, sure. If you look at it as sort of like an examination of faith, I think it boosts the script a little bit. I don't know if it's a top five for me, but I don't think so. In terms of adapted screenplay, I don't think it would be. I think there's probably better. I could probably find five more adapted screenplays that I like a little bit better than this. But once again, we benefit from some great casting choices here, and the other people benefit from just being in the movie. Like for people who are on the rise, like Kaylee Spaney and Daryl McCormick, just them being in this movie helps them like boost their career along. They get to be around with these heavy hitters. They get another film on their resume that looks good as they continue to get closer and closer to whatever it is that they're going to hit eventually. I know Andrew Scott's a little bit further along, but he's still kind of a rising talent. I guess technically so is Josh O'Connor, but they would be sort of on the same level. Otherwise, Kerry Washington's been around. We know who Jeremy Renner's been around. Josh Brolin's been around. Glenn Close has certainly been around. Daniel Craig's been around. These people, they've been there for a while. So, yeah. I'm going to give Wake Up Dead Man a 7.6 out of 10. I liked it. It's fresh. I just didn't love it. It's just not going to be in my top 25. There are other films this year that I'm really passionate about. There are other films this year that I would watch a second time immediately. This was 2.5 hours long. My God. Another time was like the runtime, but I understood it once I saw what it was. Like at first it felt audacious to me. I was like, what the, how did you make this a 2.5 hour movie, man? But he does so much at the beginning that I don't think Daniel Craig came in until like the hour mark. Like he introduces the story and these characters so well and sets them up through this like opening monologue that by the time Daniel Craig comes in, it's like the movie's like a third over, like easily a third. So it's not like one of those like opening quick like 15-minute sequences and then whoop, Daniel Craig's here. No, it went on for a while. I was kind of surprised. So it really does make Josh O'Connor the lead and it's weird that he's been nominated in supporting simply because he's not Benoit Blanc. I know this is unusual for us because you don't usually get a film where the series has been established, but suddenly the lead is not the lead anymore. Like Daniel Craig as James Bond. Could you imagine if James Bond was like absent for half the movie and it was somebody else? Like if that last movie had been like Ana de Armas for the first half of a movie and then James Bond joins at like the hour mark, people would have lost their minds. So, but that's what this is. Anyway, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and I will see you guys on the other side.